Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to the chat. And we're here. And we're live. And we are live. Thank everybody for coming out. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We got an exclusive today. Shout out to Taylor Umbridge. I'm gonna put her link in the chat. Taylor Umbridge. She's in law school and all that. She does crime content, y'all. And she did an interview. She did an interview with the lawyers of the defense attorneys in the Alicia Andrews trial of the Julio Fulio murder. Interesting to say the least. I appreciate what she did. I always wanted to know what these lawyers had to say about that trial, and she was able to provide that for all of us. A lot of us uh, watched that trial. We seen it from beginning to end, and I myself had a lot to say about the lawyers. I had a lot of questions of what the lawyers were thinking. You know how did they even you know what was their thought process in this whole case? And fortunately, Miss Taylor was able to interview them. So I'm going to put her page in the chat. Check her page out. She does true crime content, and she did this interview, and she said I'm allowed to react to it, and I'm going to share it with my audience. Thank you, guys. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Taylor. We're gonna get right to it. We're gonna get right to it because I'm interested. I'm interested to know. So this is Taylor Umbridge, and she's the one who had the interview with just so that we know who are the lawyers. Uh, One lawyer's name is make sure Jeremy McLymont. That's the guy. That's my guy right there. I think he's cool, man. He was the young guy, and Arian White. That was the lady, the dark skinned lady with the hair. Yeah. Those two definitely stood out at trial as defense attorneys, and today we have an interview post post trial. This is after the trial, after the verdict has already been reached, and the lawyers they done this interview with this young lady, and we were fortunate enough to be able to react to it right now. So I want to say thank you again to Taylor, and here we go, audience. We got an interview.
Is the mic on? Is Taylor Gang in the building?
Taylor gang, okay, okay, Taylor
What's
gang.
up, everybody? I actually see y'all in the comments. What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I did promise y'all an interview tonight, and I'm actually really, really excited to get this kicked off. Oh, it's
Hey, she might could be a wabbit. She could possibly be a wabbit.
33 people. There it goes. There goes the count. It's 33 people, so small but mighty. I'm really excited to have this interview with y'all just because I didn't actually get to watch the trial with y'all. I actually watched the trial
Oh Lord, Mrs. Baker, what's so funny? uh,
in the car and off the time. Well, not in a time that wasn't in sync with everybody else. So I really couldn't follow the trial with the community, but I'm really, really excited to have this interview with Jeremy and with Erian so that we can get the questions
Arian,
answered, right? I
I've
before we
got
actually
questions.
start, I do want to let everybody know that I understand that everybody watches trials in their own community. That everybody has a home, but today you in my house, you at the Taylor Umbridge house. So that being said, we will absolutely not um tolerate any disrespect. There will be no disrespectful comments. There will be no negative or
Yeah, so when I have guests, y'all not gonna be able to disrespect, okay? When I got guests, when I do my interviews, no disrespect in the guest in the chat, okay? Can't be allowed. Cannot allow it.
ado. Let's bring up our guest. All right. So first up we got Jeremy and we got Arian.
All right, we got Jeremy and we got Arian, man. Hey, these was actually the two defense attorneys that stood out the most to me anyway. For sure, for sure. I definitely noticed all of them, but you know that boy Jeremy, he was showing out. He was showing out. and I definitely had positive things to say about him because I feel like he's on the path to a successful career. You know.
Hey, hey.
What's up?
How y'all doing tonight?
I'm good. Just
Pretty good.
Preparing for the next trial.
Literally.
Extra.
Same.
Well, I know everybody probably knows your name by now, but I do want you guys to go ahead and introduce yourself just in case somebody don't know. We'll start with Jeremy.
All right, so my name is Jeremy McLymont. I am a practicing attorney. I practice criminal defense. I have my own law firm, a Celia law firm, and I've been practicing now for 7 years.
Wow, he said he got his own law firm. Impressive. He said he got his own law firm. Young man, 7 years now doing this.
Oh, nice.
All right. My name is Erian White. I'm an attorney as well, practicing attorney in Miami. I own White House Law Group. I practice criminal defense, some personal injury, and civil rights, which Jeremy also practices. He did not include that, but he does.
I do.
I mean, well, it's obvious that you two have a relationship with each other. So let us know how y'all two met.
Oh, God. Jeremy, you want to tell that story?
How we met?
Yeah, how you guys
I
met.
could tell that story. So I was in law school, my first summer of law school. And when I was in that summer, I was in DC at the Public Defender Services in DC, interning there. And I had some other law students that were in the same year as me, and they were overseas. They were overseas in Seville, Spain, or whatever. And they had a program over there overseas. And one of them posted a picture, and the picture it said "niggas in Seville," like a play off of Kanye's,
It's in Paris.
"Niggas in Paris," right? And they posted the picture, and there's 3 white people in the picture. So we had like a little Balsa chat, and for those who don't know what Balsa is like the Black Law Student Association, and mostly every law school has a Balsa chapter. There's a bigger organization called No Balsa, and we had this group, and everybody's in the chat. Like they send a picture, the screenshot of what the woman posted or the law student posted, and they're like, "What are we gonna do about it?" So
Queen, good
I
morning.
took the screenshot of the post from the students, I put it on my page, and I made an announcement that we wouldn't tolerate any sort of disrespect or anything like that. It was a bit of a long post, and that set off like a civil war in the school.
So this type of stuff forced them into activism. Because they do their little activism too. I was on the Instagram page and stuff. I said, okay. I got some pictures of them together. I was like, okay. Yeah, so I guess this type of stuff forced them into activism. When you're in the field and you start seeing and experiencing the actual isms, yeah, it kind of forces you to do something.
So like people from this side and from that side are like jumping in and fighting and arguing and this and that. It's right, it's wrong. Like you should just left her alone and all that. And so Erian is in school. I'm in Miami. Arian's in school in Atlanta at Emory. And somehow she's seen the post. she might have seen it because we had like a mutual friend or whatever, and he was involved in the post as well. So she saw the post and she started arguing with people back and forth. Obviously taking up for me and everyone else that was on our side. And so from there, that's how I met Erian, and that's how we got down. And so from then until the trial, she's still fighting the judge for me. So it's the same story, different day.
Literally, same story, different day. Yeah, that's how we met, and we've been thick as thieves since then. Literally, yep.
Okay, that's what's up. So how did this link up occur?
Literally.
Like, what made you reach out to Erian or Erian reach out to Jeremy to link up for the Alicia Andrews?
So yeah, you want me to do that one too? Because
Yeah,
Let me hear how this.
all right. So I had the case, and then I'm thinking about putting together a team of people that I could try the case with.
Okay.
And so
he's saying he had the case. So I guess the case fell on his desk, and he decided to bring these other people on board. That's what it sounds like.
there was different pieces of the puzzle that I needed, and I wanted to make sure that I could. The team that we had was a team that we could work with, like people that I wouldn't get into any issues or beef with or any problems. No egos, no bumping heads, nothing like that. So there were a few people that reached out to me that wanted to be on the case, and it wasn't like maybe more than a few, right? That saw me on it, was like, hey, I want to jump on the trial with you, and I had to pick like who would be best for this case, with the different issues that are going on in the case. So like the different rap beefs and Jacksonville and rap music in general. And so I had to pick people that knew what was going on and that had an idea of how to handle this sort of stuff. And so Erian was one of the first persons that I thought about. Obviously, because she covers all these issues with different cases and trials and whatnot. If you watch her page, she's on top of all this stuff. And then we work together at the PD's office, so I know how Erian works. The PD's office in Miami. So she was one of the persons that I was like, look, I think we could work good together on this case. I could use you and the talents that you have, and so that's why I reached out to Erian.
Oh no, okay, cool. And I think like when we were watching the trial for a minute, I felt like we didn't really know at first that you were the lead.
I swear, she right.
The lead defense attorney. So let's take a step back for a
Let's take a step back for a second. So this boy, he was the boss the whole time. Hey, that's a young man. That's a young man. So he was the boss the whole time. He was running the show. Hey, kudos to him, man. Shout out to him. I didn't even know that. I'm learning that right now. He was the lead. He put this team together like the Avengers. He was like Nick Fury or Tony Stark. He put the team together, y'all. That's what's up, man. Shout out to Jeremy, man.
Like when we were watching the trial for a minute, I felt like we didn't really know at first that you were the lead, the lead defense attorney. So let's take a step back for a second and let's just kind of talk about how you got this case, if that's something that you're willing to share. What made you want to take it or say this is something that I could do?
Yeah. So the way that I got roped into the case was that there was another attorney who was handling the case before me. So that attorney was looking for a co-counsel at the time. This was maybe about a year ago, like Halloween of last year. So they were looking for an attorney at the time, and they had a sister who went to law school, the same law school I went to, FIU. And so somehow we connected at a Halloween party. We connected at the Halloween party, and she said, my sister has a case that she wants help on. I told her you'd be good. So the sister and I connected, and we talked about the case, and I said, yeah, I'll join. I'll be co-counsel. I'll help out. And that's how I got on the case initially.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Now, when you got into this case, and let's just talk about when the trial got started, because I know the folks are already, they want to know. But when you got into this, when you got this case, I'm sorry, I'm kind of fumbling for a minute. What were your anticipated challenges? Just knowing the charges that she had when you first got on or roped into it, and you were like, okay, I'm getting ready to go in here. What was the biggest concern that you had?
Me or Erian?
Either way, it's fine.
You want to? I'll take it first.
Go ahead.
My instinct led me to believe, and it was right, that just the cultural differences, right? The finding a jury that could understand culturally what was happening and not brush it off as just simply gang violence. There's more nuances to what was going on. So I thought one of the biggest issues was going to be people in the courtroom that mattered, the judge, the jury, the prosecution, not so much, because, it doesn't matter what it actually means. It's more about how they present it. But getting a jury and having a judge that would be willing to understand the nuances of the culture.
So let's talk about the jury. Are you able to share what the jury makeup was?
Yeah, so there were 2 Latino people on the jury. The rest were white.
Wow.
And one of the Latino.
Wow. No. Interesting. 2 Latino and the rest white. That's interesting.
There were 2 Latino people on the jury. The rest were white.
And one of the Latino persons was white, Latino.
was white.
So they had a white Latino one of the two Latinos was a white Latino. So damn near 11 whites and one Spanish, one Latino on there. I mean, damn.
Latino,
Yeah.
yes.
So after the jury was chosen, like, how did it make you feel going into day one or opening arguments? Like, once that was set.
I
I'll
was
say,
frustrated.
yeah, I'll say while we were picking the jury, the ones that we had on our minds, the ones that we wanted to keep, if we kept a lot of the ones that we thought we would get or would have, we would have been okay. It'd have probably been like split. But as we kept going through the jury selection process and the prosecution would strike some people that we wanted, some people of color and whatnot, at the end we realized when we looked at all the 12 that we ended up picking that we had all basically an all-white jury.
Yeah, the all-white jury.
And you know, we fought to have other people on the jury. We fought to have a Black woman on the jury. We fought to have other people on the jury. But you know, the prosecution to get 10 strikes, peremptory strikes, which are just you get to use these strikes for whatever reason, really. And they used them to get some of the people off. And we didn't have a whole bunch of, you know, colored people, Black people, however you want to call it, Hispanic people on the jury to begin with in the pool of.
Yo, so when they playing that picking the jury game, that's a serious game right there. You don't got that much Black people already, and then they strike out all the Black ones anyway. Then you left with God.
Individuals to begin with, so it's like slim pickings, and then they have enough peremptory strikes to just get rid of everyone. So when we saw the makeup, it was like I thought we was gonna have a little bit of a better shot, but you know, we got to work with what we can work with, because even though some of the people, a lot of the people were white, it was some of them were okay, meaning like they were at least fair. And if we could get fair jurors to listen to the case, then we should be okay, is what our mindset was. So long as they can be fair, because so long as they're fair, there's an even playing field, and all we got to do is do our job, which we know we're going to do, and then we go from there.
Yeah. Because really picking a jury is a gamble. It's always a gamble, right? And you obviously want people that can relate to your client. But the idea that, I mean, we wanted a diverse jury, of course, but there were, you know, non-white people in the pickings that we did not want on the jury too. So it was, I will say this, the second time around, because we had, you know, we kind of started the process a little bit in August. This set of jurors was, I believe, much more diverse than the first time.
Okay. So when it was set in stone, did it change your strategy at all as far as how you were going to attack this case or present it in front of them?
Good question, girl.
I would say no. It did not, because we kind of expected the makeup of the jury, maybe not as it was exactly, but we didn't expect to have an all Black jury.
Yeah.
We're not trying a case in Wakanda, so we never expected to have an all Black jury or people that were all culturally sound and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it didn't really change, and we accounted for those issues that we knew would come up. We accounted for them in jury selection. So the process of jury selection, which people don't get to see, right? We're asking particular questions of the panel, of the people that are there, so that we can weed out who would be very, very bad for Alicia and for the case. So certainly all the people that were terrible for her, we got all those people off the jury. Yeah. So it didn't change when we saw what the jury was or what the makeup of it. It didn't change our theory. It didn't change the way we would defend the case. We knew that was, you know, a possibility.
Yeah. And see, I don't think that everybody kind of understands that, like, the entire process of trial, like once it gets started, the strategy begins. And I think just as people were watching the trial, the defense's strategy wasn't as super clear to them, which made them criticize heavily. So can we?
You think that's what made them criticize heavily?
I think a little bit of it. I think it's a little bit, right? I think there's
I got different thoughts, but let's go with that. Let's start there.
Hey, I want to hear your thoughts, man. Listen.
Okay, we'll start there. Okay, fair compromise. I think part of it was not understanding what the defense's strategy was. What can you tell us about what strategy you guys chose to pick?
So I'll say this much, like from the public's perspective, I think the state wasn't sure about what our strategy was sometimes too. And that's kind of the point, right? Like, I don't think that the main strategy in a trial is always to pull out the pieces of information that will allow you to argue what you need to argue in the end, right? That's kind of the core. That's why you question witnesses, why you ask specific questions. But the idea that it wasn't very clear, I think is not, it was more so because of the way the state put on their case and some of the things that the judge allowed to be put in front of the jury. A lot wasn't clear. Particularly Alicia's role in any of this wasn't clear. So I think a lot of the confusion actually came from just the large amount of information that was put before that jury that was not relevant to the actual facts of the case. That's just my thought.
So when we talk about the amount or the evidence that was put in front of the jury, I mean, I think it was conflated. There was a lot of evidence about things that she absolutely didn't do. And I'm just a law student. I don't know too much, right? So literally, this trial is starting on Monday. The Monday of the week of the trial starts. We're talking about conspiracy in class. So I'm like, oh, let me watch this trial because I got something to relate this to for my midterm, for my final. Excuse me, for my final. And so when you talk about like things that just were not relevant, what exactly was the state supposed to prove?
Jeremy, you want to take this?
I was waiting on you to answer it, but you said the last part. You said what exactly was what? I didn't catch
What
that.
exactly?
What did they need to prove?
What did they need?
What did the state need to prove?
Oh, so they had two charges against Alicia, right? One was conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and the other one was first-degree murder. So what they have to prove is, and they charge her as a principal, right? So it means you didn't actually commit the crime, the actual underlying crime. You didn't do the shooting that caused the death, but because you intended for that result to happen and you did some act to help the people who actually did it, we're going to charge you as though you did the actual act. So they have to prove those things. They got to prove that she intended for the end result to happen and that she did something, some act with the intent for that act to cause the killing, right? That's for the principle to first-degree murder. Now, the conspiracy, they got to prove something similar, but they got to prove that she conspired with these individuals, that she had a meeting of the minds with them to go ahead and do this. So that was the two things that they had to prove in the two different charges, and they really didn't prove that throughout the trial.
Did you all like plan to handle the conspiracy and the murder trial, murder charge different, or was it just the same goal, same strategy to isolate Alicia from her co-defendants?
Right. So I think in this particular, you can't separate them. Because she doesn't have any direct involvement, and all of this is about the conspiracy, the idea that she was a part of some agreement, and acted in a way that was not explicit as far as like the shooting. So I don't think you can separate them at all. I think they're required to be together because of how they alleged that she was involved in the crime.
Yeah, and it's when you're a defense attorney, the best defense is the simplest one. So if you start dividing up the counts and you start saying, well, this is the excuse for why she should be found not guilty for this one, and there's another excuse or reason for this one, and you start making the jury think too much and having to put too much stuff together, it makes it more complicated for them, and you're likely to get a guilty verdict. But ours was simple. She wasn't involved. She didn't have any knowledge of this stuff, and so if you don't have knowledge, you're not involved. How can you intend to do anything? How can you agree to do something if you're just not involved? So we remove her from the situation, rightfully so, and you don't have a conspiracy, you don't have a first-degree murder because she's not involved.
And that was like the common theme, right? In everybody's chat, in everybody's videos, like she absolutely had to know. Like there has to be a point of knowing. And as a content creator, I think that when I was kind of watching it, I was like, yeah, I feel like there was a point where maybe she could have known, or maybe she should have known. I don't think that the thought that came behind it for me was that it doesn't matter in the defense attorney's eyes because they got to prove it. I don't think that landed with everybody else. And so when you are you're in such a high profile case where social media has a lot to say, how does that impact you while you are actually advocating for your client?
Question.
Well, this is my first, I don't want to speak for Jeremy, but this is my first high profile, media type where everything is being recorded, sort of case. We're not blind, right? Like we see, and I know from personal experience in covering these kind of trials that there is information to be learned by understanding how the public is viewing what's going on, right? So we're not blind. We didn't turn off social media and not see it at all, but for sure it wasn't a focus of our defense, right? Like I was making this joke, and I've been making it every day that I see comments about this trial. They don't segregate people on the internet, right? Like the critical thinkers, they get to comment with the trolls and the clout chasers. They all are in the same comment. So you have to be careful about what information you take in and be able to filter through it, because not all of it is valuable. But we live in an age where these trials are being recorded, and our jurors are members of the public, right? So what people in the public and the way they're seeing it, it matters to a certain extent, because they're also not in the courtroom, right? So the way that the camera shows what's happening in the courtroom is very different than what's actually going on inside the courtroom, and that's for sensation. That's the whole point of it. That's why the cameras are set up like that. But it was helpful, I guess, maybe in like the motion to recuse. It was beneficial to see that the public was taking note of some of what was going on. But I mean, that was the biggest, I would say, maybe help. Negatively, I know who I am. I know Jeremy knows who he is. So that doesn't move me at all.
Yeah. What I'll add to that is that the first go round, we had like two stabs at this trial. The first one was in August, and then it got continued because the prosecutor got sick. But that time around, I did shut off my social media and all this sort of stuff because I just wanted to block out all the extra noise. The second time around, I did not do that because I had heard so much of the noise for the 2 months in between the first and the second trial that I was just like immune to it. You also realize that because the trial is being shown on YouTube, on Instagram, and TikTok, these are platforms where everybody goes on to entertain themselves. So they're in the comments trying to entertain themselves and be the most entertaining person that is in the comment on any of these platforms. And so you got to realize that everyone that is saying something is really saying things so that they can have the funniest comment, that they can get the most likes on a comment, that they can get the most views on their videos. And so you realize that, you're not on the Discovery Channel. So people aren't here to learn or to really digest what's going on. They're just there to have fun and entertain themselves. So it is what it is. But you look at, right, I would have people tell me, because I wasn't watching it while I was in the trial, but at the end of the day, I would have people tell me what people in the chats were saying, but not like the ignorant things, like the things that really could affect our case, things that are helpful to us. Constructive criticism or feedback is what I was looking for so that I could fix those issues during the trial.
Yep, that was my next question. Did you receive anything that would have changed your strategy or the way that you approached the trial? So it sounds like if it was constructive, you took that in, which is great. I think social media is a blessing and a curse as well. So I'm glad that you were able to find some silver lining in it, because the comments were nasty.
And we should talk about that. We should get into that a little bit. I don't know how deep you want to get, but
let her get into it, Taylor.
Well,
Let her
Erian,
get
you
into
have
it.
the floor.
Yeah.
Well, let me answer a question though, because
All right now.
a lot of people were asking this question, and I find it so interesting because I don't know what else she would be doing. But somebody in the comments asked, "Why was Alicia writing so much?" And a lot of people were asking that during the trial, and I it's just so interesting to me because I don't know. Well, like, what do people expect her to be doing? This is her trial. She's taking notes. She's helping us. She's assisting in her trial. So we obviously, as a defense, have the benefit of having the person sitting next to us that knows the most about like some of the things that they're trying to put in front of us. So Alicia was writing because she was assisting in her trial, y'all. That's what she was doing.
Okay. I wonder if they're gonna ask. I wonder if she's gonna ask the question that I had throughout the whole trial. What the hell was she laughing at every goddamn minute? And why y'all kept telling her jokes to make her keep laughing, man? Did y'all tell her to stop laughing during the trial? Did y'all tell her to stop laughing so much during the trial? That's the main thing. How do you feel about her laughing throughout the whole trial? How about that?
And I saw a lot of comments like that, but I guess I just wonder what y'all expected her to be doing.
Yeah,
She was crying.
people are a little oblivious to how this stuff should work. I mean, she definitely was helping us. Like when the state puts up on a board 30 gang members for just one gang or whatever, and they start going through the individuals and saying who this person is and who that person is, and they start saying how this person is from 1200 or whatever. Like Alicia is there and able to tell us who this person is. This person grew up with me. This person went to church. This person is dead. This person, no, I don't even know this person. Like I've never had a relationship with this other person. Like they're lying. They're doing this. So she's writing the things down to give us, commentary on what is actually being shown the jurors. The state, they were sloppy. They were like, oh, you were in a relationship with this guy, and they put the picture up, and like this guy's in 1200, and she's like, no, that's my cousin. It's like things like that she's writing down on the paper. Like they're putting up all this stuff. They don't even know what they're putting up. And the judge is just letting it in, and she's there to help us weed through some of the stuff. Right? Like I think people, they're like, oh, why is she writing so much? Well, what do you want to do? Just stare into space? She's on trial for her life. She can write if she wants to write. And the other thing is like people talking about her smiling throughout the trial and whatnot.
You.
Yeah, you got to remember the camera is focused on her, like solely on her. So every time she makes a gesture of facial expression, laughs or whatever, they're picking it up. The jury is not able to see everything that she's doing.
But come on, bro. Not even smiling. We talking about damn near laughing, giggling.
She was buried behind myself and another attorney to my left. So the jury couldn't see her making these expressions or doing any of these things that the people on YouTube could see her doing. And I'm not saying that to say that she should have been smiling more or she smiled just enough or whatever. But there were points during the trial, and there will always be this in any trial that I try, where I talk to the client or another attorney talks to the client, and we break some of the tension with, just a joke or whatever. And it may be not the funniest joke in the world, but like if I say, did you see this? And she's like, and I say, okay, look, well, they're going this direction. That's exactly where we thought they would go. And we're going to be able to corner them on this issue. And I'll look at her, or she'll look at somebody else and she'll smile because it's like,
that's not good. Don't do that. Telling her jokes. So they was telling her jokes and stuff. Cause I'm like, why is she laughing? They were joking with her and stuff, man. Jeremy, don't do that no more.
Say, okay, look, well, they're going this direction. That's exactly where we thought they would go. And we're going to be able to corner them on this issue. And I'll look at her, or she'll look at somebody else and she'll smile because like we see good things happening in the trial.
I think it was excessive. I've seen the ASAP Rocky trial. He smiled in that trial. I've seen the YSL trial. Young Thug smiled in that trial. Like people do smile in their trials. Hers was excessive. Excessive, man.
So it's just like things happen. She smiles about it, and sometimes those smiles could be like nervous smiles, but it wasn't a big deal to the jury because they didn't even see, what was going on.
Yeah. And then the other, part to that is like she is a human being, a whole human being, right? She is on trial for her life. She is innocent on trial for her life.
Yeah.
And she probably spends every waking moment, like, from the time she gets arrested to the moment that we're in thinking about it. So the idea that she shouldn't have the ability, well, first, there's this like presumption that because she's on trial, she did something wrong, which I find so troubling for Black folks, but we can talk about that too. But the idea that she should be, she should bury her head in shame or not, I don't even know how to pinpoint it. But she's a fully formed human being who has emotions, who deserves some joy, even if it's only a little bit, right? Even if it's in the middle of this trial, like that, she is a human that deserves to feel those emotions. We, had the opportunity as a group to spend a lot of time with her during trial, but on her day to day, she is in jail, like with people that she does not feel safe around. So the idea that she should never crack a smile is insanity. It's insanity to me. And let me just correct one specific thing, because I believe it might have been Law and Crime. I don't know which media page it was that they kind of shifted the focus to her, and there was this insinuation that she was like smiling at autopsy photos.
I
A
doubt
lie.
it. I doubt it. Yeah.
She was not.
I
So let
doubt
me
that.
just clarify that. But yeah.
I mean, you know, they say cracker smiling. Like, you don't understand how much she was smiling, like, every time. Like, it was so much. Um, and I'm not negating nothing that she's saying. It's just that it seems like she's downplaying how much she was smiling. And then for Jeremy to acknowledge that they cracking jokes, well, maybe I was cracking a bit too many jokes, man.
I appreciate that. I do want to talk about something that you said though, because you said she's innocent. So that to me says that you believe in your client's innocence. And I know as a defense attorney, that's not something that you may always have.
Mhm.
At what point did you realize this girl is innocent?
Great
So
question.
Jeremy probably had that feeling long before me, obviously, because I wasn't on the trial, I wasn't on the case at the beginning. But I mean, a basic look at the facts tells me that she's innocent, but I don't have that feeling for every client of mine. You can't, right? That's impossible. Um,
They shooting for appeal, I believe.
but looking at the facts of this case, even as the prosecutors present them, leave me with that conclusion. But also, just in my interactions with her, I wholly and fully believe in her innocence, and I don't have any reason to doubt it, none at all.
Yeah, I never had a reason to doubt what she told me.
Yeah.
Like there was never any evidence to suggest otherwise. I mean, there was this perception from the
Yeah.
public, and there was this stuff that people put out, but none of the actual evidence in the case pointed to it, and that was clear from the jury. But the jury, the verdict was. But what was I about to say? Oh, the one thing that people were saying, or that the state mentioned, was this text from 2021 that she said that Julio needed to die or whatever. And for me personally, that never really had any bearing on whether she was innocent or not, because I saw it for what it actually was.
Mhm.
I saw it for a 17-year-old girl talking about a guy that is in their city causing havoc, and she made an ignorant comment that probably half the school has a text message saying the same thing, right? And it doesn't mean that they wanted him to die or that they were gonna kill him or anything like that. But that was their biggest moment of the trial, was that text message. And I mean, it was ridiculous. Like somebody said, they shouldn't have let the text in. We argued to keep it out. We thought it was irrelevant. It had nothing to do with this conspiracy, or the actual, principal intent to kill at this moment in time. It was a text. It was so remote in time, 4 years prior to the incident or whatever. She didn't even know any of the individuals that ended up doing the killing or whatever at that time. So it was just completely irrelevant, and it was only used for character evidence. And so
Yeah.
I think we did a good job of explaining what that was, but that issue, right, is like it could be a culture issue. So that's one of the things that Aaron was discussing earlier, is that like people may not understand that she's talking if they've never had those conversations before like that, right? And people have those conversations, right, regardless of whether you're black or white, but they happen differently. The words you use are going to be different, right? So two white teenagers may say something different. It might be worse than that, and they might not even mean it, right? But I just thought that was a stretch, and it never for me was like, oh, she must be guilty, or like this means that she's not telling us the truth or whatever. When I saw it,
Yeah. I think for
Yeah.
me, like watching it, the moment that I started seeing folks saying, well, let me step back, okay? My issue with the whole she has to be guilty came from the trial watchers, the 30 to 40-year-old women who are watching trials and imposing their experiences on a 17-year-old girl. When I was
Mhm.
17, I should have so many knots across my head for the amount of
Right.
times that I fell, bumped into walls, or got pushed down a flight of stairs, tripping over my own feet. Because I made the dumbest decisions. And these are the same ones that we see at girls' night, taking shots saying God was with me because I had no business.
Mhm.
I think when I saw that, like that really, like it kind of hurt me because I kind of feel like I'm on a soapbox right now. I'll get off in a second, but I kind of feel like, as Black people, gangs are essentially a part of our culture, whether we like them or not. And I think everybody has been in some, proximity of a gang member or a person who's just outside and in the streets. And the fact that her proximity to folks put her on trial, it hurt me in a sense, and it hurt me that our people couldn't look at it, and even look at it in a non-biased way to attempt to follow the evidence. It was immediately, oh, when I was 17, I wouldn't have gotten in the car with anybody. I would have asked questions. I would have done this. I would have done that. So for me, that was the thing that really like ticked me off.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
So
Aaron.
I agree with you. And I think all of us are, I don't even want to say a bad decision, right? But all of us are one decision away from ending up in, the worst position of our lives. And it may not be a bad decision. It may be a questionable decision. It may be a decision that you didn't even realize what the consequences could be. But we are all one decision away from the circumstances of our lives being completely different, right? But I want to challenge you a little bit, Taylor, because somehow, right? I watched the YSL trial every day of it. And somehow, some of the same people that criticized Alicia and say she must have been guilty, she had to have known because she was there. Some of those same people were able to pick apart the evidence in the YSL trial and say, hey, maybe some of them have committed some of these crimes, but I don't think the state can prove it. But that wasn't the way the conversations were going about this trial. And I'm going to venture out and say that there's a lot of anti-blackness at the root of that. And who the lawyers were and who the judge was mattered. And I think that's why the conversations went the way they did about Alicia, because I've seen firsthand some of the same people that were watching this YSL trial and very, very understanding, and the judge is wrong and the lawyers are right, somehow now think that just because the judge says something, that means the judge is right and the lawyers are wrong. And I find that very interesting because the racial dynamics are very different now.
Um, come on now. I don't know if the people watching really couldn't see that this girl had some kind of involvement in this. Right? Like I don't know. Like it just was so clear. Like maybe the state exaggerated her involvement, but she had knowledge, bro. Like I mean, it was so clear to everybody that she knew something. She knew something. I don't know if she was part of the planning. They can't prove that. I don't know if she had anything to like she was gonna like she knew the end result, but she knew something, man. She knew like nah, you know. She knew something. It's really hard not to believe that she knew something, seeing all that happen and what she tried to cover up. She wasn't being honest from the start. You know what I'm saying? And she made it seem as if it was because she was in an abusive relationship and she was scared. And by the time she got on the on the stand, it was clear that she's still in contact with the dude, and it has nothing to do with fear. It's all about loyalty for her. It was all about loyalty for her. That was clear when she got on the stand. So, with that being said, you can see that the reason why she wasn't honest from the start, was because she was being loyal to that guy. So she had something. She had some part to play, man. It was too obvious for the world. Like everybody that was watching it, it's not just trolling. Like I don't think that little girl deserved to go to jail just because she's around them dudes. You know what I'm saying? I would hate for that to happen, but in the facts in the case says that little girl, she 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 was complicit in a lot of that stuff. Even afterwards, So, she wasn't. I don't think she had any remorse. I don't think she really cared that that boy died. I don't think it bothered her that that boy died. I'll say that.
So I would challenge some of those people to look deep inside and figure out why that is. But more importantly, I would challenge anybody to argue why they think Alicia could have committed this crime or, known anything, and they can't say because she was there.
I can say that she was with the dudes that planned to do it. Everybody she was with, they all knew what they were going to do. And, she just happens to be the only one that doesn't know. And then she's lying about her relationship with these dudes, whether or not she know them. I don't know who the guy was. He just came and driving the car. Those little things, it's like you do know. Or you guys are very familiar with what's going on, and it was clear that she wasn't being completely honest, and lying shows guilt. Lying shows guilt. Then you ask her why she lied, and she made it seem like it was out of fear, but it wasn't out of fear. It was out of protection, trying to protect. So even after the fact, she still was trying to protect. Like you got to get rid of the phone. You know, um, so it's almost like she trying to say she don't know nothing that happened, nothing at all. That's hard to believe. The amount of guns they had to load it up. Um, how they got in the house, you know. Yeah.
Like that can't be a part of your argument.
Yeah, and
And
the
I don't
reason
think
why it
anybody,
can't be
you can't.
is it says it like that's literally one of the rules. The mere presence is not enough. Like that is the rule.
It's not just the mere presence, right? It's the other things. Her, her deception, her deception, and ultimately, when she got on that stand, you saw that this girl was willing to lie to protect this boy, even while her defense was that he was abusive. While she's under no obligation to protect him, she still was doing things to to show that she still loved this guy. Even though he quote unquote put her in this messed up situation, that didn't bother her. She ride or die. Uh, I mean, that was clear to me.
But you
Yeah.
have to prove it beyond. But I'm sorry, that's just law school coming out of me.
Mhm.
I learned a little
But
something.
yeah, and I don't think you can. If you're not allowed to say because she was there, because that's at the end of every thought. She must have known because she was there. And if you can't argue because she was there is literally no evidence that she knew, and that's because she didn't. And that's just what it is. So, yeah.
All right, so let's go back into the courtroom, right? Because there were a lot of challenges that you guys faced when it came to just sidebars or just trying to question your witnesses. How did you manage just like the emotional? Because you guys believe in their innocence, right? So I know it had to be emotional in that moment when you're wanting to get this question out or you're wanting um to bring this evidence in. How do you manage that, like on the fly in front of the cameras?
Jeremy does a much better job at it than me.
You want to take it? Or you want me to take it?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I don't manage it well. I believe that I remain professional, right? But I am a passionate advocate. And I don't believe in not speaking up when something is wrong. I don't like disrespect or anything that is at a negative towards me to go unchecked. So
What up, Egon?
but there's a balance there, right? Because the way that I speak outside of the presence of the jury is very different than in front of the jury, right? Because again, and not all lawyers have this burden, but we have the burden of being Black attorneys, and I have the burden of being a Black woman attorney. And so I have to manage the way that I interact in the courtroom in front of the jury. Outside of the jury, still, but it's very different. It's very frustrating, right? To know that what your position is the correct one, to have case law to back it up, to have the Constitution to back it up, to have common sense back it up, and still, yet somehow, the people on the opposite side of you disagree, and the person who has the control over what is put in front of the jury disagrees. It's very frustrating. And I think even the best lawyers, sometimes it may show on your face. But all you can do is move forward. That's all. That's the only choice you have, because as frustrating as it is, Alicia's life is still in our hands. So we have to move forward, and adjust, and hope that if this is something that's in front of the jury, that they question it as well. Because don't think the jurors don't see, like, why can't we hear the answer to that question? They don't see some of the arguments that are made from the state, from the defense, and even the judge. The jurors see that too, and if they're interested in justice, they might be offended by some of what's going on in the courtroom too.
So, I just lost my second question. ADHD kind of kicked in a little bit. So when we talk about that was a question about inside the courtroom and just the challenges that are there. How do you keep Alicia's spirits up when you are facing those challenges?
Before we get to trial or any hearing, I have to manage her expectations with what is about to happen. So I'm not oblivious to the fact that the judge rules certain ways or speaks a certain way or has a certain tone or disdain for the defense. And we have these discussions long before trial with Alicia, and she sees it for herself before we actually get to trial. What it is. And so when it comes, it's not like a surprise to us or to Alicia, because we've discussed it, we've talked about it, we've talked about how to get around it, and how the judge is not the ultimate decision maker at the end of the day. So to keep her spirits up, it wasn't, especially with Alicia, it wasn't really hard, because she's a really tough person. She's a strong woman, young woman, and I would just tell her, I had 2 words, and she'll nod her head and she'll be fine. I said she wasn't an individual that was like panicking whenever these things would happen. So there's definitely clients that do panic, even if you tell them beforehand, like, this judge is going to say this or do that. When we bring out this evidence or when we object, they'll still panic, because it is something that causes panic or anxiety when it's your life on the line and you're actually seeing some sort of unfairness happen right before your eyes. But she was good. She didn't have any issues. She didn't appear to have any anxiety to me. Maybe when she went back in the back, she was sweating bullets. But for us, she was the easiest person to deal with. She was really strong. She was just focused.
Yeah.
Nice.
She's really like the type of client that I would consider to be the ideal client, right? Innocent, obviously, but more importantly, she was level-headed. Like, when you spoke to her, she is not afraid to be vulnerable, like, and to be just honest about, like, the circumstances of what's going on. She was definitely an asset to her own defense, which is, it sounds like it should be an obvious, but sometimes the stress and the weight of this kind of, especially this kind of trial, it's hard. It's hard because it's a gamble. You're putting your life in the hands of, in her case, 12 people. So it's stressful. So I commend her. I talked about her to my sister every day. My sister was with me at the trial, and we both talked about how strong she was. She was definitely an asset to her own defense, but also she managed herself very well, even without any of us intervening.
I guess they're gonna represent her again, because I was under the impression that a lot of things she was doing was hurting the case, or like not, helping her trial. But she seems to have a different opinion about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks in the comments might agree. that when she took the stand, she shifted the room in a way that I don't think could have shifted without her being up there. So my first question about just her taking the stand in general was it always the plan? Was it always in the books for her to get up there?
Question, man. Hey, shout out to y'all go sub up to Taylor, man. Sub up to Taylor. She's good questions. Good questions. I remember watching the trial when Alicia hit the stand. I ain't gonna lie. As she was speaking, I started rationalizing her way, like seeing some of the things that she's saying and understanding some of the scenarios that she presented. And I could see how some of the things she's saying could be possible. And then I had to remember the lies she told and the cover up she tried to do and the protection she did. And then they started then they started to expose, the cross examination came and we learned about how much she's still in contact with the dude. And it's like, oh man. So yeah, she got on the stand and at first because she had all the answers for everything. Oh, this is the reason, this is the reason. And then, yeah, it all fell apart.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and we try to.
Was the plan the whole time they initially they knew she was gonna go on the stand. They planned for that. Okay. All right, y'all. So y'all here. They already planned for her to go on the stand. That was the plan.
Make it seem like there's some mystique about. Yeah, it was. I mean, and we try to make it seem like there's some mystique about whether she's going to testify or whatever. But that's all part of the plan too. To have the jurors think that maybe she won't testify, but everybody wants to see it. And honestly, I've tried a lot of cases, and people say you shouldn't put your client on the stand to testify. So in the majority of my trials, my clients have testified, and it has gone well. In the couple cases that I have lost trials, my client did not testify, and we lost. And so that is a myth, in my opinion. After having tried more than 35 cases, it's a myth to say that if you put your client on the stand, your case is doomed or whatever. It's not. It's not reality, because if you prepare your client like a was prepared, she can save her own skin, right, by what she says on the stand and how she reacts to the state's cross-examination.
I wonder if they think that she did well on the stand. I wonder how they feel about her performance on the stand during cross examination. And if they feel like if that had anything to do with why they came out with a guilty verdict.
That is like in and of itself, preparing your client to testify and what happens when they get on the stand. All of that is part of the trial, and you can't just ignore it. You can't just hide from it because it could turn out bad. You have to do it. It's part of being a trial lawyer.
I agree. You said it better.
So I've heard you guys say how strong she is and how much of an easy client she was. We see people take the stand all the time and we're questioning, did you prep them? Or I don't think this person was prepped. Like, how much work actually went into trying to prep her? How much of it was just genuine Alicia up there on that stand?
So preparation is a few things. Preparation is one, her knowing all the evidence against her. So her being aware of the different police reports, the depositions that we took. So reading those things and watching camera footage, watching her interrogation. So her just knowing everything about the case is the first step. The second is then telling her how it will be during trial. Because like people don't know what trial is, no more than any of these people on YouTube. She's never been in trial before. So telling her how the trial works, from jury selection, to the state's case in chief, then putting on evidence, us cross-examining their witnesses, then us putting on a case and whatnot. Letting her know what happens in a trial is also the next important thing. Then it comes like the questions that we're going to ask her. So preparing her for the questions that we're going to ask and how her responses should be to these questions and how she has to think about the people that are watching her and how she can't just, she has to keep her hand away from her mouth when she's talking, or she can't lean on her palm or whatever. So like little things that we work through as we go, right, are helpful. And then we cross-examine her, pretend like we're the state. So all these things have to get worked on, and it was a months-long process. It wasn't like in the middle of trial we said, "Oh well, you should testify because we're maybe halfway in, halfway out, and we think you do a good job." You get up there and you figure it out on the stand. No, this was months worth of work that we put into her testimony. And if you ask anybody who's actually watched trials before, like in recent times, like who has been a better defendant on the stand in their trial? Ask around and let me know. I don't know. So it just she did well, and
She did
I,
excellent.
She's
She
amazing.
did.
She ate.
She did. Yeah.
Did she in the cross examination too? All right, so I want to know. See, all right, being that they answered my question, they believe she did well on the stand. Why do you guys think they came back with a guilty verdict? I want to know what do you think? What do you think made them come back with a guilty verdict?
Jeremy, they won't give you credit for that. They said people are insane. And the idea, I'm glad you're explaining it, Jeremy. The idea that I'm not going to say it never happens, because there are attorneys who, in particular cases, might feel like, yeah, you should not take the stand.
Courtney, you said you think they meant she held her composure well. If that's what they meant, I have to agree with that. Up till the point to where they triggered her, where she was like, "I'm gonna do what I gotta do." She kind of broke a little bit there. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Like that right there. I remember that one. I was like, man, I think she they kind of broke her a little bit right there.
But ultimately, it's up to the defendant. When they answer that question from the judge, because the judge will ask, "Do you want to testify?" They could have been saying no the entire time, and then they say yeah. I will hope that never happens, but it's possible, right? But the idea that any attorney would just let their client just hop on the stand without having prepared them for, most importantly, how the prosecution is going to treat them on cross is, yeah, I can't imagine that.
yeah. And I'll add to this, like even if somebody's telling the absolute truth, without preparation, when you're talking to an attorney on cross-examination, you're in front of a box of 12 people, that's the jury, your cameras are going and all this other stuff, you could be 100% telling the truth, and you could look like you are the biggest liar in the world. You could be up there sweating bullets, you could be
That's a fact.
hemming and hawing, you could be stuttering, you could do all these things.
That's a fact. That's a
And it's
fact.
not because you're lying, it's just because you weren't prepared to be in that situation. Like, not everybody in the world is a great public speaker. You don't just grow up speaking in front of these like people in this situation. So it part of it is that it was truthful testimony, but the other part is that she prepared.
Yeah. So someone in the comments said, and to hear it took him a month. Just to clarify that, it took months, many months, not just 1 month. I just wanted to clarify that. It was many months. It was over many months. And I can't take credit for that. But it was over many months.
Hold on. My son just came here and just threw me all the way off, y'all. Just children.
That's all right. I'm sure Celia is somewhere in the background.
Girl, he still is right here hanging on the chair. But y'all heard it. Y'all heard it from Jeremy. So while y'all in the comments talking about she saved herself, Jeremy helped prep her to save herself. The team helped her prep to save herself. So give credit where credit is due. Now I do want to talk about these phone calls, because those phone calls coming out on her cross-examination had us all shocked.
Thank you. All right, so those phone calls, which is where they really ripped her apart, showing that she's still in contact with the boy who jammed her up in this situation in the first place. That's supposed to be the abusive boyfriend that she's over there having phone sex and cyber sex with still while she's incarcerated, but he's supposed to be the abusive boyfriend. So that definitely I was waiting to hear. Shout out to Taylor for getting to that one.
Where credit is due. Now I do want to talk about these phone calls, because those phone calls coming out on her cross-examination had us all shocked. And to hear her say, "Didn't your attorneys tell you not to speak to him over the phone. Like, how did you guys? Was there any conversation about that before she took the stand, or maybe afterwards about those calls?
Appreciate you for this question. Listen, man, I've been waiting for the answer to this question. I'm so happy she asked her.
To
Man,
speak to him over the phone. Like, how did you guys? Was there any conversation about that before she took the stand, or maybe afterwards about those calls?
She knew they were
Afterwards, afterwards, it's like you handled that well.
Yeah, you handled that very well.
But you know, it wasn't a surprise to us. We knew that it was going to come up. And so that was also part of the preparation. So like all these people talking and saying all these things, like there's a lot of stuff they don't see. And had she fumbled at any point during that examination or whatever, then you could say her attorneys didn't prepare her well. But every question they had, she had an answer, a reasonable answer, a truthful answer, and it was well thought out. So we prepped her for all of the different questions that they may ask. There were questions that the state did not ask, that if they did ask, had an opportunity to answer those questions, they would have looked even worse on the state. So she was over prepared for their cross-examination, and they're lucky that she didn't get asked other questions that she would have had very good responses to.
Yeah. So
do I need to go back and watch that again or something? I think I gotta go back and watch it again. Watch that cross-examination again. Because it just doesn't seem like what I saw.
So I want to talk about the DV, right? Because I think the point of like maybe some of the domestic violence coming into the trial as evidence was confusing to some folks while thinking it was like a duress defense. Can you guys explain the purpose of DV coming into this trial and what impact you wanted it to have?
So, Jeremy, do you mind if I take this?
Go ahead.
So, duress was never a defense, ever. Ever. Not ever at any time did we ever put forth duress as a defense. That is something that the judge kind of coined, and it was something that she kept repeating. But we never attempted to put forth duress as a defense. Duress as a defense essentially is an admission, right? Duress is saying, I did this, but here is why I did it. So duress was never a defense for us.
That's what it sounded like their opening statement was saying. I mean, when I heard their opening statement, it sounded like the boyfriend had her under some kind of stronghold. It sounded like.
The domestic violence was important to our defense because, and it's ironic that people felt like, I don't understand why she's talking about domestic violence. So many people said she must have known because she was there, right? Because anybody in their right mind that was there would have known. Well, that's why domestic violence is so important, because she's not a normal, 19, 20, 21-year-old woman. She's a battered 20-year-old woman, 21-year-old woman. In a situation where a normal person may have been, even if they had suspicions, asking questions out loud and advocating for themselves, she understands what the consequences of advocating for herself would result in, right? So she has a very different experience than someone who is in a normal relationship where your partner values your life, your freedom, sees you as an equal partner, and you have agency in your relationship. That was not her situation.
So why is she still in contact with him and all that after she done escaped this situation? I don't understand that.
Right. So the domestic violence mattered because it went to, first and foremost, the reasonableness of the idea that she would have known, right? Or how she could have come to know had she asked the right questions. But more importantly, it goes to the idea of her state of mind, right? Her intent, whether what she was doing was actually for the purpose of committing this murder, which it was not, or if she was in a situation where she's next to a man that will whoop her ass if she doesn't do what he says do. And so that's why the domestic violence mattered for our defense, but it had nothing to do with the rest. And I really don't even know where that idea came from, because it was not from us.
Yeah. I mean, duress is like an affirmative defense, meaning if you get convicted of something, or if you're on trial for something and you want to prove that you have a defense, it means I did it. An affirmative defense means I did the crime or whatever, but I had some legal justification for doing the crime, and it would be duress, right? So I did it because somebody had a gun to my head, or because if I didn't do it, they were going to kill my mom, my sister, my cat, my dog, whatever. That's duress. That's an affirmative defense. It's something that you have to prove in order to say that, yeah, I did the crime, but I'm not guilty of it because I have some legal justification for doing it. That was never something that, and as much as the judge kept saying it could get on my nerves every time, because we never put forth that we were going to have some sort of duress defense. And then people ran with it online. Oh, I can't believe they were going to use domestic violence as the defense or duress as a defense. What are they going to do now? It's like, oh, we're going to use our actual defense when the trial comes, and it will be just fine.
What was
even that ruling that we couldn't use domestic violence in our trial, the judge walked that back because.
What was your defense? What exactly was their defense again? Because now I don't know what the defense was. Like, what exactly were you guys trying to say?
Because it's absolutely relevant to what her state of mind was at the time. Like, if somebody is telling you to do something and you know that this person has the ability or the capability to beat you or do whatever they want to do with you in the moment, then you're more likely to give up your phone and not say anything, or go along with them on a ride and not say anything, or not ask any questions, or talk back or anything like that. So domestic violence was important to our case, but regardless of whether we got it in or not, Alicia was still going to be able to tell her story about what happened, and we thought the result would be the same. But it's perfectly legal and relevant to the case for her to talk about those things, especially when the whole case is about all these people in Jacksonville, these gang members, this gang war and all this stuff. She's not even in a gang. She's like, why is all this stuff relevant? Why is the gun relevant in Sean Gathwright's home and in the mom's safe? Why is the safety on a rifle important or relevant to the state? Like, there was so many things in the trial that the judge let in because they were quote unquote relevant, but we're getting pushback on something so small as to like her relationship with her boyfriend that they're saying was a Bonnie and Clyde relationship.
Right. And that was the other, I'm glad you added that last tidbit because I forgot about that. The other point, I guess, about the domestic violence is without us being able to put that forward, the state was going to be able to mislead the jury and paint this relationship as though they were this Batman and Robin, Bonnie and Clyde duo going to commit a murder. And that's just a lie. So that was the other big issue that we were, fighting against. They should not be allowed to present this to a jury as though she is, like loving on him in a way that makes it so that she'll do whatever he says because she wants to please him. Because that's not what it was. That just wasn't the truth. So
But from the jail calls, that's the time she's on. That's where she's at mentally. She's still head over heels for him. She'll do anything for him. That's where she's at mentally. The jail calls express that. Cross-examination pretty much put that out there.
that was the other part of that.
Yeah. And that was like almost one of, well, I'm gonna say almost, but that was one of my favorite parts about her cross, right? It was the question about him telling her to be loyal. And she's like, he's telling you to be loyal. This just went on. What does that mean? She's like, don't cheat. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? When she said that, I was like, it was almost as good as I'm cute. But I was like, yes, girl. Get her, because she has no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and this is the thing, like when you read text messages, when you the idea of like perception, and if you've already come to a conclusion about a person, about what you think they did, you see everything in a very different way. And I think that unfortunately the prosecution, they decided, this is the way they were going to go forward. And I don't even think they anticipated like alternate explanations. I think they just decided that what they think is what happened. And I think that's part of why they struggled when they crossed her, because the idea that there's a reasonable explanation or an alternate explanation or an actual explanation, it just doesn't feel like they were prepared for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jeremy, the people want to know: do you ever get loud?
I mean, do I have to? But the thing is, do I ever get loud? Did I get loud in that trial? Maybe
No.
one time.
I
Maybe
think
one.
it did a little bit.
Yeah,
Just
maybe
a
one.
smidge.
Maybe one time in when the state prosecutor, the guy, and the judge were
Yeah, it was
arguing
on
back and
top of
forth.
the expert, the FDLE lady.
Yeah, I think well, they were objecting for whatever reason, and I just got tired of it, and so I had like fussed back and forth with the judge for a little bit, but I still tempered it because obviously the jury's there, and I don't want them to think I'm crazy. But no, that's just my demeanor.
Yeah, I think there was a question in chat asking about why you didn't go hard on Ramos. Was there anything that you wish you would have done differently just throughout the trial or your approach to any of the witnesses?
No, it was Ramos in particular. I'm trying to remember his cross-examination. There were moments in time where he would say slick things or whatever, and I would be slick back with him. I know there was a time where we were talking about the text messages between Kyla Enright and Sean Gathright, and he was like trying to say that Kyla Enright was not she was drunk. So my response was, okay, she was drunk and she was following directions. But the point is, like, she's texting back and forth with Sean Gathright about, the types of things that Alicia was accused of doing, like dropping locations and doing all this stuff. But regardless of whether she was drunk, that was just like something for him to kind of throw off the jury. It was irrelevant, right? But the point was that she was texting Sean Gathright back and forth, just doing whatever he was asking her to do, but not actually knowing what Sean Gathright was trying to do, not knowing that Sean Gathright was about to try to shoot or kill Julio Fulio. So she was just doing what he asked, and she had no idea of the purpose of what she was doing, but she did it. She did it anyways. And that was the purpose. It wasn't, and it didn't matter if she was drunk or not, because she was still doing it. She was still able to follow those instructions and whatnot. But no,
Drunk
I
is
don't.
also not a defense to any. It's not a defense.
Yeah.
But
If Alicia was drunk, in the
wouldn't have
car, they wouldn't be like, oh, she's drunk. She didn't know what she was doing, right? So I don't necessarily need to get loud with anybody. Maybe I got loud a little bit in the closing argument, maybe a little bit when I got a little bit passionate, but that's not my thing.
Yeah. Y'all heard it first. It's not his thing. He does not want to get aggressive and rowdy. We'll take a couple of questions from the chat before I close it out because I know I've had y'all for an hour. And to be honest, I got class tomorrow. So we're gonna keep it moving. But do you guys believe you would have had a different verdict if the jury had more than a couple of hours to deliberate?
They deliberated long.
I think we would have had a different verdict if I don't think that the jury was instructed properly. But I mean, that's something we maybe won't get deep into. And I would probably let Jeremy have that conversation more than I. But I think that there were some key things that the jury did not get to hear that might have changed their perspective on how they needed to vote.
Okay. So how do you guys feel about just manslaughter in general? Or is that something that we're gonna wait on?
How we feel about what?
Just the manslaughter conviction in general.
Oh, I think that's bullshit. I mean, excuse my language.
Jeremy, we be cussing now. Don't these people know we be
So obviously we gotta respect the jury's decision because they did find her not guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. But I think the jury's decision to convict her of manslaughter is just inconsistent with the fact that they found her not guilty of the first two offenses. Because by saying she's not guilty of those, it means that they didn't have proof that she intended to do anything or that she even knew anything was happening. So if you don't have proof of that, then where do you get the manslaughter from? That's really just them sort of splitting the baby. And I would imagine that they were in the room and half the people are saying one thing, another half are saying another thing.
Yeah.
And instead of on Halloween night staying there any longer or coming back the next week on some date that the judge said, she didn't say we'd come back Monday. She's just like sometime next week, right? They want to be done with it. And the judge kept promising them that they would be done with it that Friday. So they're not trying to come back. So in my opinion, I think they split the baby and they went with the manslaughter. I think very early on they decided that Alicia didn't have the intent to do anything, or that they didn't prove knowledge. The state didn't prove knowledge, because one of the very first questions that the jury asked when they came in after they started deliberating was, does the intent apply to second degree murder as well? So they what that tells me is that they took first degree off the table right away, because there was no intent and there was no agreement or knowledge of anything. So they took that off the table. And then once the judge told them, hey, the intent also applies to second degree because she's charged as a principal, then they went back and they argued about that. And I think I don't think that they had any feeling that she intended or knew.
So we'll take this question just slightly different. Are you guys afraid of sentencing at all?
I wouldn't say I'm afraid. Do I have an idea for what might happen? Yes. Um, in my opinion, the judge was doing everything she could to make sure that Alicia got a life sentence.
Damn.
So do I think that, and when I say life sentence, I mean because if she had been found guilty of the charge that she was originally charged with, then she would have gotten life. It would have been mandatory. The judge's hands would have been tied. So do I anticipate the judge, giving her a light sentence? No. But in my deep down gut feeling is that this case comes back on an appeal, right? Or maybe the appellate court changes the judge's decision to not disqualify herself, and we get a different judge.
So they was trying to get rid of the judge too? Lord of mercy. I don't know. That judge didn't seem bad to me. Draco, what's up?
Or we get a new trial and we get to try this the manslaughter charge again.
All right. Were you guys emotionally drained at the end?
Yeah, I'd say so, and it makes it. Every trial is kind of like that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that that recharges you after an emotionally draining trial is a good verdict. Because when you're emotionally drained from the trial and you get a bad verdict,
Yeah.
it's like somebody took you from being on E to like somewhere below, way below E. But the verdict, it helps. In this case, it wasn't the verdict that we wanted, but after like regrouping and thinking about it for a little bit, it's like at least there's a cap on the amount of time that she can get, and at least we have good appellate arguments in the case.
Yeah, it was very draining. It was emotional. I'll tell you now, I ain't scared to say it. I cried after.
I bet.
It was, I mean, it's hard to reconcile. Like, yes, she is limited in the amount of time that she could serve. So it puts her in a much better position than she would have been had, there been a first degree or second degree even murder conviction. But we are not satisfied, right? Because she is innocent. She does not belong in prison at all for a day. And when you add everything else, her youth, her child, just her life and what it should look like and what it would have looked like, but for this situation, it's hard to not be emotionally drained. And that's separate from the just stress of being in trial, like constantly being on go, constantly having to shift, that part is stressful too. But then when you add a person that you are like invested in, yes, it was very draining.
Okay. All right, Jeremy, they want the smoke. So there's a rumor going around that you posted a Young and A song, a caption, possibly game over on a picture. Now, I personally thought it was a little flip reference. I don't know. I just got an email about it. But is there anything you want to say about that rumor?
No, it's not a rumor. So
wow. Jeremy. Jeremy, you posted a Young and A song. Jeremy, what we doing, bro?
Reference? I don't know. I just got an email about it. But is there anything you want to say about that rumor?
No, I mean, it's not a rumor. So one of the nights we was preparing for trial, we were leaving the office, and we were taking a few selfies throughout the process. Like, so after court, we would take some. Maybe sometimes in the middle of trial prep, we would take a selfie. So we took the selfies late at night. We were leaving to go back to our respective quarters before the next day of trial. Took the selfie, and usually I post this stuff, like a selfie, any pictures, I put a song on it on my story or whatever. And I guess I had been listening to all these songs throughout the process of preparing for this trial and whatnot. I didn't know Young and Ace, or I didn't know some of his music, or mostly any of these people.
Come on, bro. What we
I
doing?
didn't even really know Fulio's music. I had heard it on social media.
What we doing,
Because
bro?
there were memes and stuff that people would do. Like there were even lawyers that would make like these voiceovers for his song, like the Dead Op song, like Corbin got shot, who's Corbin, all that stuff. Like there were lawyers that would pretend like they're talking on the phone to their client or whatever, and then the song would be playing in the background, and they would be like, "Damn, who's Corbin?" So like I didn't know that was Fulio. I just thought it was some crazy random song that people were using on TikTok and Instagram. So I didn't really know any of this stuff. But when I'm listening to these songs and whatnot, some of them are catchy as hell. So
What we doing,
we're leaving the office that night, and that was one of the songs that I liked from the whole group of Back and Forth and whatnot.
Professional, bro. Telling me, defense attorney in the case where these two rap groups are having beef and people are dying, and you want to post a song fully aware of the back and forth, because you said this is the song that I like. This is one of the songs I like from the back and forth. So you know that these songs are talking about each other's dead homies. And you decide that while you representing somebody in the case from one side, you play a song from that same side. What we doing, bro? Jeremy, what we doing?
Catchy as hell. So we're leaving the office that night, and that was one of the songs that I liked from the whole group of Back and Forth and whatnot. And so I posted it, and I posted it like at the end of the song, like because in the beginning of the song, he starts singing about how he's 5 in the morning, got a call. What is this? Dead on arrival, Mr. Six or whatever. So like you can post the song with the words, but I posted the end of it. It just has like really the music playing.
Yeah, but you know what the lyrics on that song is, though. Why even do it, man? You wildin', bro.
Not thinking that a blog would pick it up or whatever.
Not thinking that? Really? Not thinking that a blog would. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Nobody picks up my story posts. Nobody.
No.
Yeah, he playing himself, man. Oh, nobody even watches my stuff, bro. You on a high profile case. Everybody watching you. You know exactly what you was doing. Jeremy, you playing yourself. You playing yourself, Jeremy.
Music playing. Not thinking that a blog would pick it up or whatever. Because nobody picks up my story posts. Nobody.
No, Jeremy. The price that went up. Everybody saw everything.
So I posted, and I guess they were watching. People were watching, and then it just went sort of viral, and then it just like added more fuel to the fire when I think Fulio's mom mentioned it or made a post about it. So
Come on, bro. What you think? You are representing her son's killers, and you are posting one of the songs from the killer's friends. What you thinking, bro?
it was nothing like intentional. Like I wasn't trying to reach his mother or whoever, but it's not a rumor. I posted the song.
Okay.
Terrible.
Well, I didn't know because I didn't see it. Somebody just literally emailed me like your boy Slick J posted. I said, what?
Slick J.
Hey, come on, Jeremy. That was.
I mean, I just also think there is such an irony in people being, even though, like, obviously there was no intention behind, it just, there wasn't.
She about to say some bullshit. She about to say some bullshit. Probably gonna be like, well, y'all listen to the music anyway. Why y'all so mad about it? Don't y'all listen to music when people talking about smoking on the dead ops? What you so mad about? Bro, I just have a feeling she about to say some bullshit.
But there is an irony in people being like shocked about it in the midst of the way that, this entire back and forth thing goes. A lot of people are desensitized to it. So I don't know. It was kind of weird to me that people were like, I don't even know what the emotion was behind it.
What's she trying to say? Like, y'all listen to this type of stuff anyway, so what's the big deal? That's pretty much what she's saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting to me.
All right, so this is my last question because I think it's going to be important if I decide I want to do trial. I want to be a trial attorney. What advice would you give to young attorneys preparing for the first major criminal trial?
A major trial or any trial, right? I would say know the facts of your case, like the back of your hand. And that's the first step to being prepared for a trial, is to know the facts of it very well. You got to know the details better than your opposing side. And we did know the details better than them. As you could see, they kept messing up names. They're just kind of sloppy with who is who and whatnot. And when you know the facts better than the other side, the jury knows that they should be looking towards you for the answers, and they look at you as the more authoritative lawyer in the courtroom because you know the facts. Let's put aside all the other stuff, like knowing how to cross-examine, knowing how to direct examine, knowing how to give an opening statement, a closing statement, knowing how to argue the law. If you don't know the facts of your case, you can't do any of that stuff.
Yep.
So you got to first know the facts of your case, and then you can start building on the actual skill set.
My advice would be, I guess, twofold. Be organized, right? Like organize everything as best you can, just because in the midst of trial, things unravel quickly. So you have to be organized, but you also have to be prepared to improvise, because you can never predict. There have been so many times where I think I have the best legal argument, the best motion, and I know the law's on my side in some way.
Yeah, she about to crazy.
Like the judge might find a way to deny my motion. Like it happens all the time. So you got to be ready to improvise. And that comes with knowing the facts, right? Like if you know the facts well, you can improvise, but you also got to be organized and prepared. Expect the worst, prepare for the best, but expect the worst. And the biggest thing I would say is like practice anticipating the other side's moves. I think the best trial attorneys can anticipate, or at least, get good at trying to anticipate what the other side wants to do or might argue.
Oh, okay. So I apologize. I lied. There is one more question that I promised to ask that I didn't. The guys who entered the courtroom, what did
me or Jeremy? I can tell you right now, me and Jeremy can't answer that question because we were inside the courtroom when whatever was happening outside of the courtroom.
Okay, so it was outside.
What is it? What are you talking about?
So the guys that entered the courtroom, I think there was just a lot of confusion around what they were doing there, if they were related to anyone, and why was it such a big issue. And I forgot to ask. And somebody texted me and said, "Don't forget." So I promised I'd ask.
Yeah. So I don't remember what I was doing at that time. I'm pretty sure I was cross-examining.
You were crossing Ramos. Whenever I was helping you with exhibits, whoever you were crossing, I think it was Ramos.
Yeah, I was doing my job, not paying attention to like a sideshow. So we had stopped for a moment to deal with that issue or whatever. And like I'm learning everything as it's happening because I was focused on my cross-examination. So I'm seeing them pointing out people and and talking about this person took a picture. They pointed right at me, actually, when they was pointing. And I was like, what is going on? And then I had to like get out the way a little bit, like to figure out who they was pointing at. Because it couldn't have been me taking no pictures. But yeah, that was just like a distraction, and I wasn't bothering myself. There was a lot of distractions that kept popping up, but I wasn't bothering myself with it. I was focused on what I had to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know who they were at all. I mean, there was a lot of commotion outside about it. I ended up like going outside, but it was after everything had already happened. So it was just a bunch of commotion. I don't know who they were. It was clear to me though that they came there to support Julio's mom, which I think anybody in her position would want or desire some kind of support. I don't know if they were related to him or knew her specifically, but it was very clear that they were there to support her. Other than that, I have no idea what was going on out there because I was also inside doing my job.
All right. Well, I just want to say that I thought that you guys did an amazing job playing the hand that you were dealt. I think that you all made all Black attorneys everywhere look good. And I, if I had to have role models in the courtroom, I can't say that y'all wouldn't be a couple of them. Like everybody at that table, from the opening statement to the closing arguments, I think that you guys did an amazing job. And it showed, right? I know we didn't get the verdict that we wanted, but you definitely got something better than what was on the table. So I just want to say thank you for coming on my channel and talking with the Taylor gang, but also thank you for the work that you're doing in the legal field, because we know it ain't that many folks that look like us, and whenever we're able to make an imprint in spaces, I think that it's important. I was on Jeremy's Instagram, trying to collect a little information on you before the interview, and I ran across one of your posts, and you were talking about how a lot of high-profile clients don't get Black attorneys. And I feel like
Girl, you sure you ready to wrap up? You sure you ready to wrap up?
I am. But I wanted to say this because it isn't something that you see, and I do believe that you can get quality out, quality from our race, and we are quality. We are the blueprint, and I just thank y'all for showing people that. And as usual, my team is my gang. They dropping flowers in the comments because we are here to give you that.
Thank y'all. We definitely appreciate it. It's important, it's important for my clients to look at me, because my clients are mostly young Black men and women, but mostly young Black men. But to be able to look at me, look at Jeremy, and be able to see relatability, to be able to trust, to be able to speak freely without the fear that what you're saying is going to be misunderstood, and to know that I care and I'm passionate. Not to say that non-Black lawyers don't care or not passionate, but I know mine is a personal passion. I know Jeremy can speak to that too. It's important, and it's what we're here for.
Yes.
And I'll say this about that issue. So, Brian Steele's a great attorney, and when I heard about him on the YSL trial, I looked him up. I see how long he's been practicing, how many appeals he's won, how many trials he's handled, and it's in the hundreds. So you can't take anything from him. I think he's a great attorney, and he's sort of like me in the sense that he doesn't yell and scream. He's not aggressive, right? But the only difference right? I wouldn't say that, but one of the differences between him and me is that he's white and I'm Black, and he got.
Yeah, Brian Steele, bro. Just slow down, bro. You ain't nowhere near there yet, bro. Right now.
So much to that, but one of the differences between him and me is that he's white and I'm Black, and he got so much admiration and whatnot for things that we did in our trial that we got slack for. So whether it was him arguing back and forth with the judge when he did it,
Ready
it was
to go to
all
jail, or his client.
it was all good. There was no issues. People was raving. They were saying all the good things about him because he was fighting for his client. When we did it, it was a problem. You're gonna send your client to jail for life. It's a you're doing bad for your client. You're not doing what you should be doing for your client, right?
Bro, it's not even the same thing. Young Thug wasn't even around for a lot of the stuff they was talking about, bro. Right? She was in the car that dropped the location, that followed the dude around, that got killed because of like what we talking about here. Why you can't compare this, bro?
And Brian Steele's client, he took a plea in the middle of the trial, and he's still on probation, and will be on probation until some of our kids are adults. So, like, and people say on these posts and whatnot, oh, Brian Steele would have done a better job for Alicia Andrews. Maybe, I don't know, right? I know I did a good job, but
You did an excellent
day,
job.
what are they?
Good is not enough. Good.
Brian still probably has more experience in figuring and knowing what little things he can, pick at. Probably know those things way better than you guys, to where he could have probably got the judge recused if some of those little things you guys knew how to deal with it, or how to pinpoint it differently than he did. But you know, e- experience, man. He has experience. I'm sure he's been through so much cases. A lot of these things he know exactly what to tell the judge to let them know, like, yo, you can't do that, or you gotta allow us. You know what I mean? With time, bro.
It is not. That's not a good enough word.
But what are they basing that on? It can't.
His experience and his knowledge, and the fact that you guys, I listened to y'all arguments, and it wasn't like the best arguments y'all could present. Uh, it's almost like y'all forgot y'all opening statements. Her opening statements was making a case that she was damn near under duress without saying the word.
Be the guilty plea that Young Thug took in the middle of his trial. It can't be that. It must be some of his other work that he's done, but they don't know about his other work. They never looked him up. They're going off of what they saw in the trial, and so
So they saw how good of a lawyer he was in trial. I mean, we all saw that. We all saw that. We saw how much he knew his stuff, and he was willing to stand on it, and because of how sure he was.
like these people, and it'd be your own people.
And I'm sure there was times where people doubted Mr. Steele, and learned that, you know what, he actually do know what he talking about.
Your own people. Isn't there irony there, Jeremy? Though, like the passion that we have comes from these very people. It's a real twisted irony.
For me, it wasn't a black and white thing at all, man. It really wasn't. It was pretty much the fact that this girl was in the vehicle with the people that did the murder on the night of the murder, on the scene, you know what I mean? It was just so different than a Young Thug trial, bro. It was just so, the dynamics was so different, you know.
Yep. So it is what it is. But one trial at a time.
Her phone,
So
her phone sent location data. Her phone sent screenshots, like, and on the night of the murder, at around the time of the murder, like, it's just so different.
I think, I don't know if, well, I can't say I think because y'all didn't put y'all handles up there. But if you want to follow, if they want to follow y'all, let them know where they can find y'all at.
Instagram. I barely be on TikTok, but it exists. One day I'll get better at the TikTok thing, but Instagram, I have two accounts. A personal one, that's what they call Slick J, with two eyes in it, and then my
That's why that's one of his names. Slick J is one of his names. Hey, Slick J, you was being slick. They caught you.
my law page, Asilia Law, ASILIA Law, and I have a website too. It's all right. It's pretty good. I put content on it.
Jeremy's so funny. I'm on TikTok. I'm probably on TikTok more than I'm on Instagram these days, but my TikTok and Instagram are the same. It's esquired E.S.Q.U.I.R capital R-E-D. And what else? Oh, my law firm also has an Instagram at White House Law Group. I don't think we have a TikTok. I'll find out, but I don't think so. And yeah, that's me.
Yay. Well, again, thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you guys coming on here. I hope you have a great night. We
Thanks for
are
having
all
us.
still rooting for Alicia. We know the appeal process takes long, but we will keep our ear to the streets. So thank
Thank you. All
All right.
See
Bye.
y'all later.
right,
you.
have a good night.
They say I was in the comments windmilling for y'all. They so funny.
We appreciate it because they was coming. They was coming for us in the comments, but it's cool. Like I said, they don't segregate the internet. They let the fools on there with the smart people. There's no segregation. Hey, Celia.
Say hi. You can see.
Right now. That was a great interview. Very insightful, very educational. I got my questions answered. Whether I agreed with them or not, they definitely answered all the questions. She asked the good questions, and they sound hopeful. Highly favored, how you doing? They sound hopeful. The fact that Brian still reached out, uh, I would like to see if they think they really have something that they can work with. I doubt it. Me personally, I doubt it. But I don't know all the law, so we'll see. But uh, she delayed her sentencing. When she's gonna be sentenced. So as I learn any new information, I will keep you guys posted. This was a great interview. I enjoyed every minute of it, and it's time for us to get up out of here, though. Shout out to Taylor Umbridge. Y'all go sub up to Taylor Umbridge. Y'all could go watch the interview again by yourself without my commentary. But I appreciate everybody rocking out. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. Have a good day. I want you guys to enjoy your day. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. But it's time for me to go. I'm out the house. Oh.